Good afternoon. I'm Molly Young from the Miami University Alumni Association. As part of the Miami University Alumni Association's webinar series, today we present Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering, Building an Engineering Community. Joining us for today's conversation are panelists Dr. Beena Sukumaran, Dr. Amit Shukla, and MME alumna Mandy Frederick Pritts, class of 04. Let's see. Dr. Beena Sukumaran is Dean of Miami's College of Engineering and Computing. Previously, she served as Vice President for Research at Rowan University in Glassboro, New Jersey. She received a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the College of Engineering in Trivandrum, India, and a master's in civil engineering from Auburn University. She also earned a doctorate from Purdue University. Dr. Amit Shukla is chair of the Department of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering at Miami. He received his PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of Cincinnati. He joined Miami University in 2002 when the mechanical engineering program was added to an already thriving manufacturing engineering department. An expert in nonlinear dynamics, Dr. Shukla was on the steering committee to establish the Miami University Center for Advancement of Computational Research. He is also the founding director of the Miami University Center for Assistive Technology. Mandy Frederick Pritts, class of 04, as I mentioned, is one of the very first graduates of the mechanical engineering program at Miami University. She is currently a telemedicine project manager at University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. She received her master's in mechanical engineering from the University of Pittsburgh and earned a project management professional certificate as well as a Lean Six Sigma certificate. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. Just a note to our audience, questions were collected during registration, and our panelists will try to address some of those throughout the webinar today. You'll also have the option to ask questions during the webinar by clicking the Ask a Question button on the bottom of your screen. Please note that in the interest of time we have available, we may not get to every question. Today's webinar will last about an hour, including time for questions and answers. And with all that information, I will turn it over to Beena to get the conversation started. Welcome to all of you.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with Mandy and Dr. Shukla. I'm actually meeting Mandy for the first time, so I wish we were meeting in person, Mandy.
Absolutely.
But I guess this is as good as it gets these days, right? And this is a third in the series. So we had one focused on systems analysis earlier in the year, and then a second one focused on paper science and engineering, and this one is focused on mechanical and manufacturing engineering. And this is actually, all these seminars also serve to educate me on the history of our college. So I actually look forward to these conversations. I learn a lot. And I'm so glad we have so many alumni and friends of the university joining us. In fact, we have alumni who range all the way from 1964 to our most recent who have joined this call. So welcome, Mandy. Welcome, Dr. Shukla. So without further ado, I guess I'll start with a few questions for Dr. Shukla and Mandy here. In trying to learn more about the MME program, how did it start at Miami? And I guess this would be a question for Dr. Shukla. And how did it evolve? Because I know that manufacturing was our older program, and it evolved from that to what we have at present. So could you give a brief history? Please.
Sure. Thank you, Dean Sukumaran. Again, welcome, Mandy. Good to see you. And welcome everyone who's on this webinar. It's my pleasure to really participate in this conversation about the history of MME, because I've been involved with this program for 19 years, but this program goes way back to the establishment of our college in 1959, which was in terms of industrial technology program. From that evolved a engineering technology program, and in 1981, that engineering technology program was converted into a manufacturing engineering program. And we still have an engineering technology program at the regional campuses. In addition, the manufacturing engineering program continued to thrive and received its first ABET accreditation in 1990. During the same time frame, in 1992, we added a interdisciplinary program in engineering management with manufacturing engineering specialty, which was also very, very popular and very strong because of our systems analysis strength in the area. Then in Oh, I should add, in '93, we had our first Society of Women Engineers chapter formed, which was very, very important and continues to be something which we hope to expand more upon. In 2003, so I joined the university as an assistant professor in 2002. In 2003, we officially launched our mechanical engineering program, and we changed the departmental name to Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering program. Mandy is from the class of 2004, the very first graduating cohort, and she'll talk about that. But we got ABET accreditation for our mechanical engineering degree in 2005, which was retroactive. So essentially, our first cohort were also part of that accredited program. We added in 2009 a master's program, and that was a college-wide program in computational science and engineering. And then that was converted to a mechanical engineering master's more recently. We also moved to new facilities in 2006, which now we have expanded out of and moved to Hughes and other places. So Mandy, when you visit campus, you'll actually have to walk to at least 3 buildings to see our departmental footprint. But that's a brief history, and I'm looking forward to that conversation.
So Mandy, you were part of that first class of mechanical engineering graduates. Can you talk about your experience, and what was the department like when you were here? How many faculty were there? And where were you housed even, in which building?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I was telling Amit when we were talking last week that we really got to be a part of something special as part of that first group to graduate, as with the mechanical engineering major. Most of us came in as other majors and either switched or added it on as a second major. But it was a very small class. I think we had 5 people graduate as part of that first class of mechanical engineers. As part of that, the class sizes were small. For some of the classes that were specific to mechanical and didn't overlap with manufacturing, I had classes that had as few as 5 people in them, which was wonderful and special and something that, very few people have the opportunity to, be a part of. So that was really amazing. And even the big classes or the graduating class, I think there was about, 30 of us, give or take, that graduated in the MME department as a whole, around that time. So it still was very small and personal. I think, from a professor, I don't know exactly how many faculty were there. I would guess somewhere between 12 and 24. But we knew every single one. And I feel like they knew us too. We would be in their office regularly. In general, Miami has a strong focus on undergrad education. I think that continues even with a bigger program today. But how focused we were able to be and how small my classes were was really unique at that particular time. We were in Krieger, which does not have the glitz and glam of the new buildings. I haven't seen the latest, but, I did go up on recruiting for maybe, I would say the first half a dozen or so years that I was working. So I got to see a little bit of the new buildings. But I have a special place in my heart for those late nights in the basement labs of Krieger with all of my, peers. So I think even if it didn't have all of, the same bells and whistles of the great, opportunities and new technology that the new buildings have, it was special in its own way. And it did have a lot of great, for the time, opportunities for us to do hands-on work as well. So I feel like it was a wonderful opportunity, to be a part of that first class, and even just getting to view that ABET accreditation process kind of firsthand. And I was not a part of it, but I know, one of my peers, Sarah, was a part of like faculty searches. So, those are opportunities too, that with a growing program, we got to do things that, other people wouldn't have. And I think we're really special and unique to the time.
So what drew you to mechanical engineering, Mandy?
Mechanical engineering as a whole, I think, probably you hear this answer a million times. It's like a stereotypical one, but I was good at math and science. You saw people working in the industry, with different cool jobs, and it seemed like something that I would enjoy doing. I think I'm a very practical person by nature. So knowing that, like, looking at just the hiring rate of people coming out of school and the salaries of people coming out of school, I felt that it was a career that if I went into it would be stable, and could afford me a lifestyle that, would put me in a good position for the rest of my life. So I thought it was something I would enjoy, something I had the ability to succeed at, and something that, would put me in a good position for the future.
And did it all come true?
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, I feel like I'm going to sound so advertising throughout this whole thing because I have such a positive slant on the program and engineering as a whole. It might not seem that way since I'm not currently doing the most traditional sense of engineering, but I think that's sort of what speaks to, in a different way, the greatness of the program too. My first job coming out of school was with a company that was a little bit more traditional from an engineering perspective. They were a contractor for the Navy nuclear propulsion program. So I did go into a job initially that was, more of what you would expect for somebody coming out with mechanical and manufacturing background. And I enjoyed that, and I felt well prepared for that. But on the flip side, then once I was doing it, I really enjoyed the project management slant on engineering. And I think that a lot of the skills that you learn in an engineering program, just the logical thinking and very process-oriented, focus, can apply to anything. This is a picture of my senior design team, that I was a part of as part of the 04 class. If I think about that group of people, if I think about the other people that graduated as a part of my class, we have engineers that are like working at NASA and going a very traditional path, but that amazing traditional path that like is what people dream about when kids go into engineering, I think. And, then there's other people like me that maybe are in a less traditional role, but still using that, logical thinking and critical mind and math and science background. Like as one example, I know Megan, who graduated with me, went into patent law. So that's another example of something that's maybe not traditionally how you think of applying engineering, but really sets you up with a lot of great skills. So I think it's something that prepares you well to be successful and gives you a lot of adaptivity to be able to move around and do different things with your career if you kind of want to shift your focus down the road.
And Mandy, I have to say you are the best advertisement for our programs, because I always keep talking about the engineering or the technical mindset, right? So you bring that, and it's also a great first degree if you want to go into law or medicine or any of those professions. So you do embody that, so you have captured that very well. And Dr. Shukla, can you talk about how you talked about now that you have a footprint in 3 buildings? Can you talk about how you have expanded over the years?
Sure, thank you. And before I answer your question, Dean Sukumaran, really what Mandy was saying kind of is still the DNA of our department. So even though we have grown and we can look at numbers, when Mandy was actually part of our program, we had 10 or so faculty and staff members, about 30 in terms of graduating class. And there was a realization that there is more appetite for mechanical engineering in addition to manufacturing engineering. So we added that program, and that was how I joined the team. But more importantly, now we are sitting at over 26 faculty and staff in mechanical and manufacturing engineering. And we also have over 550 students in our program. Now, there are some areas where we need to work on because we still have a smaller percentage of women students in our program. It's around 17%. We have just about 13% students who identify themselves as minorities and of diverse background. So those are some areas where we need to work on. But yes, we have grown. And then with that comes the need for space. So thankfully, with your help and with the university support, we now have some space in the Hughes Hall, and we have another research facility where our faculty and students can work on research projects near Route 73, if you remember that, Mandy. But the real emphasis has always been trying to get that hands-on experience. So the picture which Mandy was showing is really a picture of her senior design team. And I don't know if you recall, but this team worked on designing automotive exhaust mufflers for a company which was producing mufflers in Indiana for Ford and GM. So they were trying to redesign suspension systems for those exhaust mufflers. So even at the very start of mechanical engineering program, we were trying to give our students that real experience in collaboration with real customers and problems which needed to be solved, because these mufflers were falling off the cars, and the suspension itself, I mean, I still have it somewhere, was a piece of elastomer which was breaking down. So their team conducted an experiment and delivered on a solution which was really useful for the company in Columbus, Indiana. So I think that is where we excel, meaning giving our students a hands-on practical experience. Over 80% of our classes still have the lab component or the project-based learning component. We are now trying to include and increase more industry participation. So for example, in one of our most recent edition, a design course, we now have a case study which is sponsored by a company, and they actually co-teach that case study with our faculty. So it's a team taught approach where students learn about how you could do engineering consulting even as a sophomore. So the reason there is, engineers like Mandy and other graduates of our program can do many different things. It's really all about solving problems, finding ways to solve problem, and we try to encourage that thinking right from the get-go.
So I would think that the key to this then, and I've seen this myself, Dr. Shukla, is that lots of your faculty do interface with industry partners to bring these projects forward, right? So I see a huge connection, especially from mechanical and manufacturing engineering faculty members.
Yeah, there is always more room for improvement there, but I would highlight two different areas where our faculty have done really well with partnership. One is through our senior capstone. So over 70% of our senior capstones are actually industry sponsored. And that means, out of a graduating class of 90 or so students, 50 or so are working directly with a industry partner on their year-long senior capstone, just like Mandy's team did way back when. And our manufacturing program before 2000s was also very much a industry driven. We wanted to always seek that guidance from our alums and our industry partners about what do we need to teach our students so they can be successful. And the other place where we are trying to build our footprint is to see how many of our students can do internships or co-ops. This is a common question because co-op or internship is not a requirement for the graduation, but we highly encourage it. And essentially, our story is that, well, these are real life experiences which are enhancing our students' portfolio. I mean, they are learning from their experiences, and so if they go out during the summer during a semester and take that internship opportunity, maybe one time, maybe more than one time, we want them to do that, and we help them build it in their curricular planning so that they can still graduate on time, because a lot of our students also would take what we now call a winter term course or a summer term course and so on. So but that's an area where we need to grow some more, because I think even though 96% of our students are employed by the time of 6 months after graduation, but we still want them to be employed in what they really want to do, and maybe have multiple options to choose from, so that they can really get that experience and help spread our story as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And I guess just to circle back to you, Mandy, and thinking through some of the memories that you have, which faculty come to mind? Anyone that stands out that was very helpful?
Absolutely. I would say two people in particular. One is Dr. Shukla, and I'm not just saying that because he's on the line, but he was the advisor for my senior design project, and so that obviously made him special from that regard. And he was also teaching some of the classes like vibrations that had the really small, 5 or 6 people in the class at that point because of how small mechanical was. And he actually, I don't know if he remembers this, but he tagged along with me and Jess and Sarah on our spring break trip for senior year, because it was also an opportunity where I had been doing research for him over the summer that continued for my honors thesis. And he helped me coordinate an opportunity related to that to present at a conference out in California. And then 2 of my best engineering girlfriends piggybacked along to make it also a spring break trip. So, it was kind of a cool opportunity where, we got to collaborate on a school and professional level, but he did also come out with us on, a trip. So we got to, be a part of that. And so that was a very unique and fun experience. I hold a special place in my heart for him. And I think everyone who graduated anywhere in the vicinity of when I did the 2004 timeframe holds a super special place in their heart for Osama Ituni, Dr. Ituni. He was just, I can't even begin to say enough good things about him and enough things about how influential he was to me. And I know other people who graduated around the time that I did. I can say personally, I remember to this day meeting him when I came on site to tour at Miami and look at, the building and learn about the program, and, just his positive nature and the way that he cared, not even just about, he was very passionate about, the manufacturing program in particular, but his passion was not even just engineering. He was so passionate about life and about, liberal arts and about everything. And, he had this saying of, have fun and learn something new. He wanted you to be enjoying what you did. And he really took such a personal interest in all of his students. Like, I explicitly remember he made an effort to teach the first class of your engineering curriculum and the last class of your engineering curriculum. And, he wanted to see you come in and grow and come out and be a part of that whole experience. He was just, outside of engineering or Miami or anything, he's probably the nicest person I've ever met in my life. And within the program, I really feel like he just shepherded us along. We all felt super attached to him and felt his passion. And every time I would go back up and recruit, I would make a point of, even if we weren't connecting at the career fair itself, we'd go out to dinner and catch up. And he was just such a wonderful person. I feel like he was a great advocate for Miami engineering. It's just shoes that can never, ever be filled because of how wonderful he is. And Miami was very lucky to have him. And I was very lucky he was a part of my Miami experience for sure.
Mandy, I have only heard about Professor Tuni, and and every single person that I've talked to has only had such positive experiences to share. And I wish I had been lucky enough to get to know him, but I've only heard about him. Dr. Shukla, did you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think if you ask any student who came in contact with Osama, they would have the exact same feeling. In fact, a lot of faculty would do the same because he was really a mentor. And so he was the one who hired me. And, we can talk about his influence. He was really, in a way, if I think about it from my days as an assistant professor trying to get tenure, uh, he would keep the long term before he would worry about the short term, which is very important. And I've tried to learn from that. He was also very honest in feedback. So that is where, new person like me would benefit greatly from his honest feedback. But of course, the feedback was very personal, very passionate. It was more about, how do you improve rather than, you did this wrong, now you're in the timeout. But he really definitely left a mark among a lot of our students and faculty alike. Another person, and this is, and actually before we talk about Errol Gundler, I was going to mention another faculty. Mandy, I do remember meeting your mom at that meeting too in San Diego. In fact, both me and Juhi, my spouse, went to that seminar, and we had dinner with Mandy, and she did a great job presenting her work on the honors thesis. And in fact, this is really a telltale sign of a Miami student. She was the only undergrad presenting at the SPIE 2004 meeting, where a lot of faculty would come and ask, so is she your master's student or a PhD student? And I'm trying to hide my blush by telling them that we don't really have a master's program. This is our undergrad. And so we are always proud of Mandy and so many more of our students. In fact, one example, another student which comes to mind is Nate Rogers. He is from a later year, but he went to my office. It was probably the first week of his first year, and he goes, well, I want to do research. So of course, as a teacher, I'm trying to think, well, he's just a first year student. So I had a conversation, but Nate really was persistent. And then he ended up working for 5 to 6 years with one of another faculty member, Professor Fazil Khan, in our department, and published many numerous journal articles as an undergrad. So this story goes, our students are so amazing, and they really follow their passion with a lot of grit and a lot of imagination. So circling back to what I was originally going to talk about, before I applied to the program, it was a manufacturing engineering program. So of course, my degree was in mechanical engineering, and I had no idea that there were plans for establishing a mechanical engineering program at Miami. And so out of the blue, in October of 2001, I think, I called the number which was on the on the position ad, and someone picked up on the other line, and he goes, well, yeah, there is never harm in applying. Why don't you come over and I'll show you around even? And I never had that kind of response, but that was Errol Gundler on the line. He was in the dean's office, but after retiring from Navy, he actually moved to dean's office, and then he also moved back to our department, where he was basically involved in all of the faculty searches until he retired in 2010. So he used to say one thing, which is also very inspirational to me, that you recruit one student at a time. You work with one student at a time. So even though we are at a 500 plus, student body, I hope that me and my staff and faculty all remember that message, because it's really about each and every student. So I think those two people had the biggest influence on me personally, but also on the departmental history as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It sounds like, well, you had some very special people within the department, and you still do. I think all of them are really special. And that is something that Miami, I mean, what drew me to Miami was the same thing. It was the focus on the undergraduate student. Along with, of course, we have some graduate students now, and we do take really good care of them as well. But the focus is still on undergraduate education, and I do think our undergraduate education does, it gives our students a different kind of edge because of that liberal arts foundation that we build on. And I think, Mandy, what you have seen even with your career, I think does arise from some of that foundation in the liberal arts, right? The
Definitely.
focus on communications, focus on a global perspective, focus on the big picture kind of thing. And that is what I've heard from every single one of our alumni from the early years until now, that they were able to dabble in their interests. They were able to get sometimes multiple majors or a minor added on because we give that flexibility within the curriculum. And I think that is something special that we have at Miami. So with that, like, and Dr. Shukla and Mandy, like, how did you see our curriculum evolve over the years? Like, what has been because I know that now you even have a graduate certificate in, advanced manufacturing. So how has the curriculum changed over the years?
Yeah, thank you, Dean Sukumaran. So I totally agree that our students are really driving their career trajectory. We are just there as part of a journey for a small window of time, but our students really have done lots of things. I mean, they have been entrepreneurial before entrepreneurship was in vogue. They were doing research before we started calling it undergraduate research. So for example, one student, she's actually doing great things at NASA, Lindsay McMillan. She was part of our program, and I think she had a very strong relationship with Osama. And then through Ohio Space Grant scholarships, she started working with NASA, but then that passion took a really a form of a career. So we always try to encourage where the students' passion lie, but we also are intentional about how the curriculum should evolve, because we look to our advisory board members and we seek their guidance. For example, when we added mechanical engineering way back when, there was clear sign that manufacturing is strong, but the direction is towards more mechanical engineering, a more general degree, so that we can actually provide that service to the students and be representative in the Ohio and Midwest area. Our program right now sits at student numbers which are same as other schools in the area. Then slowly we started thinking about the graduate program. So we wanted to do the graduate program for two reasons. One, there were a lot of students interested in pursuing research, which they were not able to do just within the constraints of undergraduate program. So that was one. The other was to help support the faculty in building these partnerships with Air Force Research Lab or with other industry. So our focus still is on a small graduate program, but we hope that we can grow that to a degree where students can benefit from that exchange with the faculty in a more intimate way. 5 years or so ago, we started again thinking about revitalizing our mechanical and manufacturing engineering curriculum. So now we have a program which is a little bit more hands-on. So Mandy, you described the hands-on nature of your classes, but we added specifically added an instrumentation lab. We added a thermal fluids lab, and we made sure that the students have some choice. Because a lot of, I teach the senior level advanced mechanics course, but let's be honest, not everybody is awake all the time in that class. uh, so we wanted to give that opportunity for students to explore their passions, because learning doesn't end when you graduate. As you know very well, there is a lot more to learn. So we wanted to give them an opportunity. So we designed the curriculum with a little bit more flexibility in mind. So there are now tracks in mechanical engineering and manufacturing engineering curriculum. One is related to automation. We are developing credentials and certificate programs for our students, but also for industry partners in terms of advanced manufacturing and materials, because there is a need for that upskilling or reskilling in the area of, say, additive manufacturing, robotics and automation. We are partnering with other departments in the College of Engineering Computing on robotics engineering undergraduate program, which this is the first year we have admitted students into the. So just like when MME was adding mechanical engineering, we expect that some students will also double major into robotics engineering program, which is actually, I was surprised to find out that the only program in the state at the undergraduate level in robotics and automation. And we have plans to expand our partnerships in that area with local enterprises who are very strong, such as Honeywell and Ocado on automation and robotics. We already have a strong partnership with many industries like Swagelok and Ariel Corporation, as well as our folks at partners at Textron. But we want to grow that. Actually, we want to make our curriculum such that almost every year, students are able to work with industry partners. So we would like to identify and recruit, top 20 partners. And another area where we are thinking about growing is how do we merge the use of data and artificial intelligence into mechanical engineering curriculum as such, because of course, digital technologies are going to continue to evolve. So even though we don't teach a digital tool, but we want to teach that digital thinking within the scope of mechanical engineering for our undergrads, so that they are broadly comfortable with that kind of mindset.
So I'm going to take some questions that we received. So this is a question, and Mandy, you can also speak about how you might relate to this. But it's mainly for Dr. Shukla. What are you doing to bring more companies on campus for jobs and internship opportunities? Not like Mandy to tell us how she got her job or internship while she was here.
Yeah, so this is a great question. And again, our success is dictated by the success of our graduating class, our students. So we work very closely with Career Services Office, and we try to get as many of our students to start thinking about their career trajectory, even with the first year of their program. So in the first year, we work with each and every student and chart a plan for their career trajectory. And we start thinking about, well, how do you interview? How do you create a resume? And when are you going to look for that first internship? So that's one aspect of things. But on the other hand, we are also trying to actively recruit specific industries to come and partner with us. And that's where our alumni have been amazingly helpful, because just last year, when in the middle of pandemic, there was not a campus presence for many of our students, we reached out to various alumni, and they put us in touch with where the job openings were. So even though there was a lot of stress in terms of pandemic related stress, but we could identify over 15 different opportunities for our students who were graduating in the middle of pandemic. It is already a big deal essentially to be graduating in that stressful circumstance, but to have that connection with the alum who could guide them to get that first position was extremely helpful. So I'm very thankful for our alumni for helping us out. But we need to grow more. We also have a STEM career fair now on campus, so which is visited by over 90 companies. We want to grow that because we want to really do targeted recruiting. Another very valuable partner, I would say, is our paper science program, because many of our mechanical engineering students actually participate in their activities, and they help with the industry partnership as well.
And Mandy, would you like to talk
Sure.
about your experience?
I had a couple of internships when I was at Miami. Neither one was necessarily directly coordinated through Miami, but sort of, I think I did benefit in some ways from them. One was just kind of a family friend who worked at an engineering company and said, hey, they have internships there, you should apply. And so I did. But I think, how Miami helped me in that one was, at the time I was only coming out of my sophomore year, so I hadn't had another internship to talk about. But I at least had those design project experiences to talk about when you and I did interview. And I remember that making me feel better that I had something that was a little more hands-on and project and, saw through an entire design process that I could speak to that not every sophomore necessarily would as part of that process. The other internship I had was with NIST, National Institute for Standards and Technology. And that one I had found out about. I had a roommate who majored in physics, and they had a history with that program of having a lot of people intern with them. But, when she had her experience, that same summer I was interning at the other company, she told me that they had some manufacturing and industrial engineers who were interning there. And so I applied the next summer for an opportunity with them and was able to take advantage of that. So I would say just there's opportunities out there, and it's just a matter of, trying to make the best of it when you get interviews. I would also say, one experience I had a little bit on the flip side was when I left the first company that I was working with was, there was, where can we look for new opportunities to recruit from? So they had not, I went to grad school at Pitt immediately after Miami. And so I got a job in the Pittsburgh area more as a result, of the connections from Pittsburgh. They had not historically been recruiting people from Miami necessarily because it's not super close and it's not an immediate pipeline. But I said, hey, they've got this new program. There aren't as many companies necessarily right now recruiting their mechanical grads since it is a new program. But their grads are great. They do have, that job had a very heavy technical writing component to it, I would say, in the way that we had to communicate with the Navy customers. And I felt that Miami really prepared me well from a technical writing perspective. So I thought that, a lot of the things that Miami did well helped prepare me for that job. And so it would be a really good recruiting pipeline for them. And so they let me go back to start recruiting at the career fairs for them. And we brought on quite a few Miami grads over, the time that I was there as new hires at that company. So I think, there's also a little bit of responsibility on us as grads to try and be a little aggressive of like, hey, can you if you don't already recruit from Miami, maybe think about Miami. It's working out well that I'm here and I'm a grad, like just kind of pushing that is, a great opportunity to help grow if you can, because I think, and I always enjoyed it. It was an opportunity then to get back on campus, selfishly too. So that was an added perk. But I think that all of us as alumni, when we can take advantage and help recruit and help get back to campus for the companies that we work at, that's another nice opportunity to try and grow that aspect of the program.
And Mandy, that is very true. In fact, lots of, I think every single alumni that I've met, if they are in positions where they can influence the hiring, they do. And if you look at our first destination survey, from last year. I think it was 96% placement 6 months after graduation with a median starting salary of 69.4 K. So that was that was our last survey based on student responses. But I do think, and alumni know this best, and I have this actually happening. We do have lots of companies knocking on our door saying, can you graduate more folks because we love your graduates. So that is definitely a testament to the program and to our students. I think, our students interview well, and once they get into a place, they do well. And that is what helps generate additional opportunities for our current students. So next question, and this is for Dr. Shukla, I think, especially around the lines of the curriculum evolution. How has the department responded to the increased demand for electrification experience in the ME job market?
Yeah, no, this is a great question. So, as engineering evolves, I believe it's hard to draw the boundaries between mechanical engineering and chemical engineering and biomedical engineering and electrical engineering and so on. And many problems we face now are really at the intersection point. So we have been intentional about that. And one of the most obvious thing is that now we have a robotics program, which is really at the interface of computer science, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering. We have a strong emphasis on our robotics and automation thread in mechanical engineering and industrial automation in manufacturing engineering. So those are some specific areas. But extracurricular wise, we are starting a all-electric race car competition. So our Baja team, Mandy, you remember, we were just getting started in 2004 with 2 or 3 students who were interested in Baja. And now we consistently have over 50 first-year students interested in that program. It actually places very well. And one of our alums I would talk about in that sense, Alex Kozier, he works for Ariel now, but he is a brand ambassador, I would say, for Baja program, because he even now will come down over the weekend when the team is getting ready to put their car together. But talking about electrification experience, we are interested in hosting and piloting our first all-electric race car, and the design work is starting now. So hopefully within the next 2 years, will be competing in an all-electric race car, which I believe there are only 7 institutions in the nation at this point. It's very popular in Australia, but not so popular right now. So we might get ahead and give that experience to our students for that technology and just the fun of competition.
So again, along the lines of curriculum, as computational software evolves, right? We use quite a bit of it in lots of our courses. How does the department determine which analytical tools to prioritize in the classroom?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It's actually the one which we struggle with all the time, because there are so many great options, and really within the window of 4 years, you can only do so much. But we have a very strong partnership with Dassault Foundation and Dassault Corporation. So that's one host of suites which we rely on for our educational experience. But more importantly, we also have our students learn about the principles rather than the software or the computational tools. We want them to be able to think about the problem and solve it based on the resources available to them at the industry they are in. So what I would say is that we actually have a preferred suite, but our focus is not on the suite. Our focus is on solving the engineering problem. So that's how we kind of think about it. And in fact, our students and alums are so innovative and so resourceful that if something doesn't work, they will find a way to solve problems. So just the other day, we were talking about how to integrate our design with manufacturing in terms of computational resources. And some of our students suggested a tool which will now be utilized to go from design phase to 3D printing to actually optimizing the design, all within the first and second year experiences. Even though we don't talk about design optimization at the first year level, but students can get that hands-on feel for problem solving that way. And it was a student suggestion which we are now incorporating in the first year and second year classes.
So this is, a comment that came in. It says it's not a question, but I agree that Dr. Etune was a treasure. He made my experience in the program what it was. So speaking to what Mandy and Dr. Shukla was talking about, I think he's such a special person who touched so many people. And again, not a question. This is a thank you that we got. Thank you for offering the Summer Scholars Program. Daughter Heidi Jager did the Summer Scholars Program this year and absolutely loved it. She learned much from Dr. Shukla just in the short time she was there, and is excited about considering future engineering possibilities at Miami. She said those 2 weeks have been the best 2 weeks of her life, and that Dr. Shukla was the best part of the entire program. So Dr. Shukla, can you talk about the Summer Scholars Program, and also that we want more women students to come into engineering and computing?
Yeah, and that really took me by surprise. But thank you, Heidi. And Heidi is an amazing student, so it was easy to work with her. Actually, we had 18 students in the Summer Scholars Program just last month, and 12 of them were women students from all over the country. And what we did was very interesting. So we called this Engineering Grand Challenges. And then we had a subscript of under pressure. The idea was that engineering is always resource constrained, and they were going to solve a problem where we had to go down to Gackle Ridge, which is under Antarctic, to a hydrothermal vent and pick up some samples which are at 400 degrees coming out of the bottom of the ocean. And it has all kinds of organisms and other materials which nobody knows about. So students took it in a stride. We talked a lot about what the environment is, what are the constraints. So in fact, the best part was creating the teams. Every group of students, there were three people to the team. One was marketing manager, another was the project manager, and a third person was their design engineer. But all teams did a great job and really took it in a stride. So what we did was what I would call agile design. There was really not a single equation presented beyond the gas law equation. But when we did talk about gas law, one of the students came up and said, "Are we going to do any more chemistry?" And I said, no, but you do need to know this. So beyond that, what we did was really just design thinking and solving problems. And all the students just did a great job. In fact, towards the end of the program, we tested their designs under our Instron frame. And and this is all 3D printed using polymers. One of their frames designs actually took 6,000 pounds of load. So it's hard to imagine that just within a period of 10 days, these students with their creativity and innovation could come up with solutions which take multi-years and multi-billions of dollars to solve. But they had a great experience. We had a great experience. In fact, half of my department was involved, so I have to thank all of them for this experience. We used to do some other activity, such as, one time Professor Sidebottom came along and he had them all eat a popsicle and measure wear rate of the popsicle, which was quite interesting. I think that was the most popular, but we also had Carl Reif come by, and he was talking about how do you design. So he conducted a design review for them. Dr. Khan helped with the program testing part, and so many more. We had, three 3D printing experts come into class and talk about different technologies. We had a virtual material design class where the students explored VR goggles and how materials are designed. And then we had some talk about vibrations, of course. Dr. Singh came in and he talked about aeroelastic flutter. So we introduced them to lots of different ideas with the intention that engineering is not just one thing, because I do believe that role models matter. And we want to put in front of our prospective students, our current students, these role models, which are diverse. I mean, Mandy is a great role model. Alex, we talked about. Lindsay, we talked about. Doug, so many people come to mind. So if we can put that out there in front of prospective students, that would be really a career booster for them.
And Dr. Shukla, you should have, I would have loved to see the finished product. I actually got to see what Professor Jim Lennox was working on with the robotics, because they're just down the office from me here. So he does that in his room. And I saw the summer scholars, their finished robots, they were able to sense the obstacles and steer clear. And the most surprising thing was that none of them had a programming background, but they programmed in C++. And I was very impressed that that was the first language that they were being introduced to, which is, a rather hard transition. But they all had tremendous amounts of fun. And I hope to see lots of them come back and be students in our program in the future. So another question, future plan for PhD programs in the MME department, and I'll talk about it from the college as well. So Dr. Shukla.
Yeah, so one of the things we are very interested in is how our department can grow in terms of not only the numbers but also the quality of the faculty, of the students, and their experiences. Because in the end, it's really about the success of our students. So a PhD program, we would have to carefully think about resources. But what it will add is an ability to provide these experiences to our students, both at undergrad level and at the PhD level. We will always be super focused, laser focused on undergraduate education, but having that PhD program gives us the prestige to recruit a lot of high caliber research, which our undergraduates and graduate students will benefit from. It also helps us make connections with industry through collaborations with Air Force and NASA and other places. So I think it's a very useful opportunity. We just have to be mindful of what resources it needs to be successful. Because there is definitely going to be some additional resources needed, and I think we also have to think about where do these PhD students might go in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Because the traditional thinking was, well, you do the PhD and then you become a faculty. I mean, that is probably not the way industry is moving. So we need to be thinking about where we can be strategic about that PhD program. But I'm also excited about the growth of our college under your leadership, Dean Sukumaran. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, yes, this has been a tough year. There's no lying about that. And it was my first year, but it's also been an exciting year because I think it has given us a chance to think through what we might want to do differently. And definitely, I mean, undergraduates will always be our focus, right? But we also have to grow our graduate programs to some extent because it is key to retaining faculty, and it's also key to giving opportunities to undergraduate and graduate students. So we are, if you think beyond some of the programs that Dr. Shukla has mentioned, we are proposing degree programs in cybersecurity because that is an area that, that we are facing huge shortages as a nation. We are thinking of even offering a BA degree in computer science because computer programming is almost like a basic skill requirement. It's like a language skill requirement, and we would like to make computer programming available to a broader swath of our students that come to Miami. We are actually proposed a master's program in clinical engineering. It came about even pre-pandemic, but basically to train engineers to serve in hospital settings, how to scale up, scale down, how to look at instrumentations in hospitals, and also there are two tracks to that. One is to get also how do you get medical devices through regulatory affairs, right? Through approval processes, and we have seen a need for that in this past year as well. So those are some of the new degree programs that we're thinking of. And I know we are running out of time, so I will wind up there. And I wanted to give Mandy the chance to take us, any parting words, Mandy, that you would like to share.
Just thank you for having me as a part of the, meeting today. I think it was great to sort of reminisce about some of the favorite times of mine at Miami. And I always like staying in touch on what's going on in the department and, being involved with that process. So I appreciate the invitation and I'm very excited to continue to hear about how the program evolves.
And thank you, Mandy, and thank you, Dr. Shukla, for participating in this. It's been such a pleasure just to hear from one of our alumnus and also hear from Dr. Shukla about not only the history of our mechanical and manufacturing engineering department, but also about some of the exciting things that they're doing within the department. Any other words that you wanted to say, Dr. Shukla?
Yeah, thank you. And, we talked about Professor Atuni. I just wanted to take this opportunity to mention one campaign we are running. As part of Move in Miami, in about 3 weeks, the first year class will come in. And we have a fundraising campaign for Dr. Atuni's legacy. We already last year generated about $16,000 to support a scholarship for diverse and minority students in our program. We need an additional $9,000 to endow that scholarship. So if any of our alumni, many have already contributed, but I just wanted to throw that out there because if you know someone who might be able to contribute, then please have them contact me, and we hope to make that a success.
Well, thank you all for this just wonderful conversation. And I have to say, I have a 10-month-old baby who is such a long way off from college. But after participating in these webinars, the paper science, the former systems analysis program, I have to say that I'm really inspired and really I'm going to start laying the groundwork now for Miami engineering because while he's not going to be repping for the ladies, I just am so in awe of the long, just enduring rich history and the relationships that come out of the engineering program. So, one vote from Mom for Miami Engineering and Computing program right here.
Love it.
Yes, you have great ambassadors, wonderful programming, and we're so glad that you all will join us to share with our viewers just the richness of that program. And of course, that's all the time we have for today. We've done a lot of talking. As a reminder, A recording of this presentation will be available on our website later today. Thank you again to Dr. Beena Sukumaran, Dr. Amit Shukla, and dear alumna Mandy, Frederick Pritts for the conversation today. We are so appreciative of you all being here. Please check out this and other webinar presentations, both new and archived, at alumlc.org/MiamiOH. And if you're interested in learning more about how you can contribute to Dr. Atuni's scholarship or other engineering projects that you can support, please visit our Move in Miami page at moveinmiami.org. You can do so much, you can make so much difference rather with a small contribution. So we thank you all for joining us. Love and honor to you all. Have a great day.